Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the One Word series where we look at the impact of a single word on a verse from the Quran. Today's verse is from Surah An-Nisaa. In the 6th verse of Surah An-Nisaa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about orphans. And He says, فَإِنْ آنَسْتُم مِّنْهُمْ رُشْدًا فَادْفَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about people under whose care the orphans are. Because in Mecca, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the orphans were the lowest of society. They were the weakest people in society. Because Mecca was all about family. And so people without family were essentially the weakest people in that society. And so in this verse, Allah says, فَإِنْ آنَسْتُم مِّنْهُمْ رُشْدًا. If you detect any maturity in the orphans that are under your care, فَادْفَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ. Then give them their wealth that is due to them. So their inheritance, give it to them. So what would happen is that sometimes people, because they would be benefiting from the inheritance of the orphans, they would try and keep the orphans and their inheritance as long as possible. So in this verse, Allah is telling people to give them their wealth as soon as possible. Now, in order to understand what Allah exactly means, I want to look at the word An-Nisaa. So in this verse, the word An-Nisaa is used, and the Arabs actually used to use this word in the case of an animal, especially in the case of a gazelle, for example. So in the African Sahara, you have this gazelle, and you probably have seen a nature documentary where the gazelle or the deer is eating grass, it's enjoying itself, and then all of a sudden, its ears perk up because it detects something. And so the Arabs used to call this An-Nisaa, where the deer or the gazelle, it detects a predator, anything that moves, it detects it, and so its ears, they perk up. Maybe it doesn't even raise its head, but its ears perk up because it slightly detects something. And so in this verse, Allah uses An-Nisaa to show us that as soon as we detect any kind of maturity in these orphans, that we should give them their wealth. And if we extrapolate from that, we can understand that any time we have any right that we have to give to somebody, then we should give it to them as soon as possible, and we should not delay. Otherwise, just like that gazelle, we could be in trouble if we take too long. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He helps us to give people their rights that are due to them. And I ask Allah that He helps us to appreciate every single word of the Quran. Jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.